So I made it to the first dirt drag event in the truck. We got registered, we got our number. The truck is definitely not doing too hot. Ever since that burnout competition we went to a couple weekends ago, she's been struggling. But we're going to get in and do some practice runs real quick and see how that turns out.
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, hey.
That sound.
Off the booth. That's what
Right lane's how you get it, left lane Joe.
So as you guys seen, we lost our first 2 dirt drag races. We did some pretty good practice runs on the 2 practice runs we did, but the track was a little bit more wet than what it was by the time we started competing. I know this wheel and tire setup is not ideal for four-wheel drive launching at all with the 22x12s and all the offset that we have. I know that, but I burn off 2 of the tires that were on my 18s that I would have used, and which would have probably been almost perfect for what we were doing. And as you've seen, the whole time the front end was just kicking back and forth. The whole truck was still sliding everywhere, but the front wheels were just jumping up and down and in and out the entire time. I'm not sure if we really bent something in here, and that's kind of what it was doing, or if it was just flexing everything the whole time. But the tie rods seem to be okay. Can't really see the center link in here, but the idler arm, pitman arm, and this tie rod, everything seems to be straight and okay. We will probably end up having to do the kryptonite setup with the center link tie rods, the weld on bracket for the idler arm and things like that, to hopefully prevent what we've got going on, and maybe be able to lower it a little bit more to get just a slightly better angle on these CV shafts in the front. I'm not sure if you could really tell, but it ended up throwing my alignment way off. So you can see this tire, how it looks like it's pulled in a little bit towards the front. And if you can tell, it's also tilted out like this. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it definitely is, especially compared to the back tire. And then if you come over here to the other side, it's pulled in on this side. Looks fairly straight up and down, but probably a little bit kicked out at the top. But the alignment is totally screwed up right now. As you can tell from here, it completely spun these around and pulled it all the way out. I don't think this one moved too much, but this one for sure ended up rotating out, which those were very tight. But yeah, these wheels, it was very aggressive launching it. I want to say I left it like 10 pounds maybe, but this wheel and tire setup way too aggressive for trying to four-wheel drive launch. And I also believe I screwed my water pump up. It had to have been at that burnout pit we went to, because I've got a loud noise somewhere over there, basically where the water pump's at. Everything else seems to be running okay, but I've got this weird noise that almost reminds me of a bad water pump. And we've also, can't really tell, but we've also got some weird looking collars in here and some bubbles. There's never been anything inside the coolant reservoir tank besides coolant or in any of the cooling system. And now, ever since I've been hearing that noise, it almost looks like a little, like fine metal inside the coolant tank, which I would imagine coming from the water pump, if that's the case. Which we're going to pop off the water pump and kind of see what we're working with there. It's also making a little bit of oil. And right before I left for the dirt drags, I actually pulled off the valve covers, put it all back together, and ran it with the CP3s unhooked, so it was running at maximum rail pressure. And I used fuel dye and UV glasses and a UV light to try to track down where the fuel was coming from and mixing in with the oil, but I could not find anything at all on either side. So I would imagine it's probably coming from around a piston. So I'm not sure yet if we're going to pull the motor out and try to do a complete overhaul on this motor. I ended up draining about 2 quarts out before I left for the dirt drag event. And probably 2 weeks before that, I just changed the oil. I know it was full and right up to the full line. And we ended up being about this far over top of the full level on the dipstick last time I checked it right before we left. So I dumped a couple quarts out, got it right at the full level again, and checked all that stuff, and could not find any leaks anywhere. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that yet. I'm either going to try to find a built motor already so we can do a lot more power to the motor, or just potentially take this one all apart and try to build it the way I want to build a motor. But so far the S369 is working awesome for what we're trying to do. I'm not sure how much boost we've actually pushed out of it yet. I know I've seen 45 pounds, but I believe we've hit more. But we also, I have the housing off of it right now. I'm powder coating it. This is a S480 87 with the 1.0 exhaust. And I've got a high-rise pedestal, everything like that for it. But I was kind of waiting to see what would happen to this motor with this turbo before I slap a giant turbo on it and things will really go south. I was kind of waiting to either find a built motor or potentially build this motor to handle S480 power. And since I just got new 100% over injectors with the S480, we could do way bigger injectors than that. But I don't necessarily want to take these injectors out and lose out on however much money that cost me to do those injectors. But here very soon, we'll for sure be ripping the water pump off. That might come along with pulling the whole entire motor out and going through everything. New piston rings, new cam, crank, rods, pistons, everything. But I would like to be able to find one already built before I do that. But I want to thank everybody who's followed the videos along this far and watched the progression of this truck grow as much as it has. And I love being able to go to new events and do new things that I've never did before. So we're going to try to keep going with this thing and just keep getting faster and faster and try to get everything dialed in for just everything. But we're definitely going to have to do some major modifications before we can really get back out there and try it again, because I know this front end setup is not going to work for us at all, and the wheel and tire setup we've got going on, it's not going to work for anything I'm trying to do pretty much. Plus I'm going to have to pull the trans back out. I've almost lost fifth gear pretty much. It'll limp itself out if I get pretty much over 30 pounds of boost in fifth gear lockup. So we're going to pull the trans back out. I'm going to send that back out, hopefully be able to get a trans brake kit installed, a bump button, and two-step, things like that, so then we will not have the problem on the line anymore of blowing through the tree and trying to power brake the shit out of it. So eventually we'll get this thing dialed in. It's just going to take time of going through figuring out everything we need and all the problems we're going to have. But we'll definitely get it there one day. But I do appreciate everybody watching this far, and make sure you subscribe so then you can potentially see either us completely overhaul this motor or blow it up or both or whatever may come along with this entire build, because before long we'll be slapping this big old turbo on there and really seeing what that power is like.